Race, religion, low-wage workers and emerging stronger from COVID-19 are some of the key issues raised by Prime Minister Loong during his National Day rally speech. Earlier tonight, Finance Minister Lawrence Wong spoke to my colleague Glenda Chong on Channel 5's News Tonight, and he started by explaining how the new initiatives will develop over the next year and beyond.
We've been thinking about these issues for some time, and we've been discussing them with our tripartite stakeholders, for example. But we decided that we had to move more quickly and urgently on these issues because of the impact of COVID-19, the stresses and strains that it has brought to our society. And so we decided we have to redouble our efforts to tackle these social challenges and deal with them decisively. So we will follow up on all the announcements and, implement them with due dispatch. But I think it's also important that we see these announcements not in isolation, but as part of a broader agenda. We said we want to emerge stronger after this crisis. That applies not just to the economy, but also to our society. We aspire to be a fairer and more equal and more just society. And this is underpinned by several key values. We want every Singaporean to have a share in the nation's progress. We want everyone to be treated with dignity and respect and to have a place in society. And we want every citizen to be a steward of the future. So all the moves we've made over the past year, from the Singapore Green Plan to budget support measures, have been conceived with this aspiration and these values in mind. And this will be our lodestar that guides our work towards a fairer, greener, and more inclusive future.
Okay, the prospect of widening social inequality, though, it also means that it has to be an inclusive progress. That is critical.
Sure.
What's the government's plans on this then?
So tackling social inequalities has always been a key priority for us, and indeed, it's a key part of our agenda to be a fair and just society. We have been active on this for some time. From year to year, you may not see so much of the changes, but if you look back over the last 10 years, cumulatively, all the things that we've been doing, they add up to a very significant shift in the government's position and in the way we approach social security. We basically have considerably strengthened social support across every life stage. We are doing more in preschool to give every child a good start in life. We are doing more in education, not just for young people, but even for adults through Skills Future. We are making sure Singaporeans get affordable housing. We are uplifting incomes, especially for the lower wage workers. And we are expanding, or we have provided universal healthcare. We are improving on that. And we are taking care of our seniors, both retirement and in their medical needs. So it all adds up to a strengthening of our safety nets to give Singaporeans greater assurance to cope with life's uncertainties. And I think that's an important part of ensuring that everyone has a fair shot at opportunity and security, and that we strengthen our social compact so that we can be better positioned to deal with any future challenges in a post-pandemic world.
Okay, speaking of this positioning, lower wage workers, we know that they can expect higher incomes thanks to new measures. But let's look at businesses, because they say they will be affected. So how do you respond to them, given that there is, like you say, government support?
So, we all have this conviction that we must do more to uplift the incomes of lower wage workers. And if we share this conviction, and I'm sure every Singaporean does, we have to go beyond words, and we have to put into concrete action and realize the convictions and make it happen. So businesses have to adjust. They do have to pay their lower wage workers more. The government will support them in this process. We are already going to expand workfare to directly increase the incomes of lower wage workers. We will also put together a transition support package to help businesses to cushion the impact on their business costs. So we are working out the details of the package, and we will announce it when we are ready. But importantly, all of us as consumers have to do our part too. We have to chip in, pay a little more for goods and services, because this will translate into higher wages for our lower wage brothers and sisters. And I think it's about an expression of our shared values, that every Singaporean counts and everyone should share in the nation's progress.
Okay, well, I still want to talk about the workers' theme here. PM also touched on anxieties about the local-foreign balance in our workforce, and that has been quite a big issue. How do we ensure fair employment for Singaporeans?
Yeah. Well, the starting point, Glenda, is that Singapore is a hub for business, and companies are here not just for the local market. They are here to serve the region and the world, and that's essential for us. That's existential, that we stay open and connected to the world, and because we are such a small little red dot, so to grow and prosper, we really need companies here serving the broader market so that we can create a better life for everyone. And when companies come here, that means that they will want to attract and recruit the best from overseas to work with Singaporeans and to coordinate their local and their regional and international operations. The key, therefore, is to make sure that we have criteria to ensure that foreign work pass holders are of the right caliber and standards. Then they can come in, complement Singaporeans, and we can form the best team to compete internationally. I think most companies do that. They act responsibly, but there are a few who do breach the rules, and if we find out, we will take firm actions against them. And this latest move that Prime Minister announced at the National Day rally, where we are putting the tripartite fair employment guidelines into legislation, will send a much clearer signal to employers that we take this very seriously and that we will not tolerate discrimination in workplaces.
Speaking of discrimination, you spoke about the notion of race, or you rebutted the notion of Chinese privilege, months ago. PM also weighed in on it during his National Day rally speech. In fact, he spoke quite extensively on it. How do we move forward on the issue of race and privilege, especially as one society? That's one. And how will the government's initiatives then help manage these? They're quite obvious fault lines.
Sure. Well, our convictions on this are clear and long-standing. We have always taken a very strong stance against racism, and we always do our utmost to promote harmony in our multiracial society and to ensure that everyone, regardless of backgrounds, enjoys equal opportunities in life. But how to go about this is also important. Ours is not an approach of confrontation and compulsion. It's not about one group asserting maximum entitlements or pressing their rights and claims against another, and then everyone starts fighting. Instead, we have gone for a different approach. We prefer an approach of mutual accommodation and respect, of consultation, finding consensus, and expanding the common ground that we share with one another. And this partnership approach has worked well, has served us well in the past, and I think remains essential in strengthening our unity amidst diversity and forging a more inclusive society. So whether it's dealing with the issue of uniforms for nurses, which Prime Minister touched on, or putting in place the new Maintenance of Racial Harmony Act, which we will do, we will continue with this partnership approach, consulting widely, listening to different views, and then trying to find consensus on the best way forward. It's a more difficult approach, but I think it's more sustainable. As they say, if you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, then we do it together. And this approach, I think, is one where we want to bring everyone together, move forward, and continue to approach ever more closely our ideal of one united people, regardless of race, language, or religion.